the melody where the music's always bright. From history to theory, we'll keep your spirits light. Tune in for the stories, the rhythms and the groove. Join us on this journey, there's always more to prove. The melody, where every note's a thrill. The melody, welcome to the Melody Podcast with your favorite host, James Shelton. James Shelton. James Shelton. James Shelton.
Welcome to the Melody Podcast. I'm your host, James Shelton. Today we're talking about Tony Bennett. So Bennett was born Anthony Dominic Benedetto on August 3rd, 1926 in the Astoria neighborhood of Queens, New York. His parents were Italian and his father immigrated to the United States as a boy, coming of age during the Great Depression. He experienced more difficulty at age 10 when his father passed away. His mother worked as a seamstress to support Bennett and his two siblings. Bennett attended the High School of Industrial Arts in New York City. Oh, this is going to be a good one. I can't talk already. But he dropped out to help the family finances and worked as a singing waiter. After serving in the Army infantry during World War II, he took advantage of the GI Bill and studied singing at the American Theater Wing. During this period, his vocal coach, I need one of those, Mimi Spear, offered some advice that he took to heart. Don't imitate other singers, emulate instrumentalists instead. Performing under the name Joe Barry, Bennett was discovered in 1949 by Pearl Bailey, who asked him to open for her show in Greenwich Village. He subsequently caught the attention of Bob Hope, who advised him to take the name Tony Bennett and put him in his roadshow. As Bennett told Billboard in 1997, "I've been on the road ever since." Bennett signed with Columbia Records in 1950 and started working with record producer Mitch Miller. His early hits included Because of You, Cold Cold Heart, and Rags to Riches. His smooth voice earning the adoration of young fans. By the late 1950s, Bennett had become interested in creating jazz albums, and he teamed up with some of the top talent in the business. His 1958 album with Court Basie, Basie Swings, Bennett Sings, featuring the tracks Jeepers Creepers and Chicago. While his songs were more substantive by this point, they also failed to match the success of earlier hits. Bennett returned to the spotlight in 1962 with the debut of I Left My Heart in San Francisco, released as a B-side to Once Upon a Time. I Left My Heart in San Francisco was the recording that captured the public's attention. It led to Bennett's first Grammy Awards for Best Record of the Year and Best Male Solo Vocal Performance, and became his signature song. Its popularity also paved the path for more immediate success, with the subsequent releases I Want to Be Around and The Good Life going on to crack the top 20. Professional and personal struggles of the 1970s. Bennett's success led to some artistic differences between the singer and his record company. His interest in singing quality material made him want to try new songs and new kinds of music, but Columbia for a while wanted him to repeat the style of his early hits. The relationship became further strained in the late 1960s when the company tried to steer Bennett toward the contemporary rock sound popularized by the Beatles and other artists. Bennett left Columbia in the early 1970s and soon founded his own label, Improv. Although he recorded what has come to be regarded as some of his best work, including the Tony Bennett/Bill Evans album in 1975 and Together Again in 1976, his songs failed to gain traction on the charts. By the end of the decade, improv was out of business and Bennett had stopped recording. Bennett's break from the studio coincided with some difficult times for the singer. Having moved to Los Angeles, he began using cocaine and marijuana, drugs that were an integral part of the celebrity party scene. A near-death experience in the bathtub and a memory of Lenny Bruce's drug-related death scared Bennett into changing his habits. With help from his older son, Danny, who became his personal manager, Bennett was able to put his personal and professional lives behind him and back together. The singer re-signed with Columbia Records, and in 1986 he released The Art of Excellence, his first studio album in nearly 10 years. Danny Bennett saw to it his father received plenty of exposure. The elder Bennett surfaced on talk shows with David Letterman and Jay Leno, made an animated appearance on The Simpsons, and delivered an acclaimed performance on MTV Unplugged, which led to a pair of Grammy Award wins for Album of the Year and Best Traditional Pop Vocal Performance. Bennett unleashed a series of acclaimed tribute albums during this period, including Perfectly Frank in 1992 for Bennett's childhood idol Frank Sinatra, Stepping Out 1993 for Fred Astaire, and Bennett on Holiday 1997 for Billie Holiday. He also branched out with an album of children's songs, Tony Bennett, The Playground, in 1998. And in 2002, he delivered a collection of holiday favorites with Christmas with Tony Bennett and the London Symphony Orchestra. In 2002, Bennett teamed up with K.D. Lang to record A Wonderful World. The album netted Bennett another Grammy for Best Traditional Pop Vocal Album and established a standard for collaboration that would mark this late stage of his career. To commemorate his 80th birthday in 2006, the singer released Duets, an American classic recorded with a collection of stars that included Barbra Streisand, Elton John, Stevie Wonder, Sting, and Michael Bublé. The project proved such a success that he created another celebrity album in 2011, Duets 2, with performances from Aretha Franklin, Carrie Underwood, Willie Nelson, and others. On its release, Duets 2 also hit number 1 on the Billboard 200, something no other 85-year-old had ever done, making Bennett's first chart-topping album. Among the highlights were The Lady is a Tramp, sung with Lady Gaga, as well as Body and Soul, which turned out to be the late Amy Winehouse's final recording. The following March, Bennett took home a Grammy for his duo with Winehouse, as well as for Best Traditional Pop Vocal Album. Also in 2012, his fans were treated to an inside look into the recording of Duets 2 and the life of the legendary singer in the documentary The Zen of Bennett. The project was brainchild of Bennett's son Danny, who served as its producer and aired at the Tribeca Film Festival that April. Later that year, Bennett released his next recording, Viva Duets. The Latin-themed album features songs in English, Spanish, and Portuguese, with collaborations from such famed talents as Mark Anthony and Gloria Estefan. Despite now being well into his 80s, Bennett's lined up a series of concerts to promote this latest album. From their collaboration on Duets 2, Bennett and Lady Gaga struck up a friendship and continued working together for several years. In September of 2014, they released an album of jazz standards called Cheek to Cheek, which won a Grammy for Best Traditional Pop Vocal Album and also topped the Billboard 200. Discussing the collaboration in an interview with Parade magazine, Bennett expressed what he learned from working with the pop star. Nobody has communicated with the public more than Lady Gaga, ever. I trust the audience and I'm very impressed. As far as they're concerned, she's part of their family. The only guy who ever did that was Bing Crosby years ago. Bennett and Lady Gaga rejoined in 2021 for Love for Sale, their take on a collection of Cole Porter songs. Bennett's last album, Love for Sale, garnered 5 Grammy nominations and won Best Traditional Pop Vocal Album in 2022. The ageless crooner returned to solo vocals with his next album, The Silver Lining. The songs of Jermaine Kern 2015. A pared-down effort in comparison with his recent high-profile duos. The album nevertheless achieved a similar result by claiming the Best Traditional Pop Vocal Album Grammy in 2016. In 2018, Tony Bennett Celebrates 90 also garnered a Grammy in the same category. In February of 2021, Bennett revealed that he had Alzheimer's disease he had been diagnosed 5 years earlier. Later in the year, he released his final album, Love for Sale, and performed his final concert, One Last Time, alongside Lady Gaga. The first show in the two-night special at Radio City Hall in New York City coincided with a Bennett's 95th birthday. His career spanned 8 decades and included dozens of accolades. Bennett won 19 Grammy Awards, including 8 for Best Traditional Pop Vocal Album and the 1995 Album of the Year for his MTV Unplugged live recording. In 2001, the Recording Academy presented its Lifetime Achievement Award to Bennett. 4 years later, Bennett was honored by the Kennedy Center. Along with his music, Bennett nurtured a lifelong love of visual art. Dating back to his time in high school, his paintings, which he signed with his given name of Anthony Benedetto, has been featured in the Smithsonian and the Metropolitan Museum of Art. In 1999, he found Benedetto's Arts, LLC, to oversee this aspect of his artistic career. Bennett's first book, Tony Bennett, What My Heart Has Seen, in 1996, features a collection of portraits, landscapes, and still lifes rendered in various mediums. He followed with The Good Life, the autobiography of Tony Bennett, in 1998, Tony Bennett in the Studio, A Life of Art and Music, in 2007, and Life is a Gift, The Zen of Bennett, in 2012. Bennett was also involved in various charitable and racial justice causes, for which the United Nations named him a Citizen of the World and gave him the Humanitarian Award in 1999. He started the nonprofit Exploring the Arts with Susan Crowe, who would eventually become his third wife. The couple also founded the Frank Sinatra School of Arts, a public high school in New York City. Beyond education, Bennett raised money to support the Juvenile Diabetes Foundation and the American Cancer Foundation. While serving in the Army, Bennett disdained the racial segregation and prejudice he saw against black soldiers. He got in trouble for bringing a black friend to a Thanksgiving dinner meant only for white soldiers. Back in the States, Bennett joined Martin Luther King Jr. for the 1965 march from Selma to Montgomery, Alabama, and performed for the protesters alongside Harry Belafonte and Sammy Davis Jr. and others. Bennett was married 3 times and had 4 children. In 1952, he married Patricia Beach. The couple had 2 sons, Danny and Dagale, known as Day. Before separating in the 60s, their divorce was finalized in 1971. Danny became his father's manager in the 1980s and helped him reinvent his career. Day also had a hand in his father's success, working as a music engineer for Bennett. Next, the singer married actor Sandra Grant, with whom he had 2 daughters, Joanna and Atania. That union, which began in 1971, also ended in divorce. The paperwork was finalized in 2007, though the couple had split in the late 1970s. Wow, that's a long time to be married to somebody that you're not actually with. In 2007, Bennett married his longtime girlfriend, Susan Benedetto Necro, a teacher. They remained married until Bennett's death. Tony Bennett's top 5 songs are: number 1, Body and Soul; number 2, The Way You Look Tonight; number 3, I Left My Heart in San Francisco; and number 4, Don't Get Around Much Anymore; and number 5, One for My Baby. And I don't have streaming numbers for that. I apologize. If you know what to do, go check out shopmelody.com and get the full biography and get some fresh new merch. Hit the subscribe button, share with your friends and family. Follow us follow us on social media at The Melody Pod. Thanks for listening. I'll see you tomorrow.